What if the most unlikely detectives in the world were sheep? Not humans, not cops, not geniuses in suits, but a quiet flock of sheep living in a peaceful English countryside. At first, it sounds ridiculous, even impossible. But this is exactly what The Sheep Detectives, 2026, dares to ask. And what begins as a cozy, peaceful story quickly turns into a mystery filled with grief, secrets, and a murder no one saw coming. We begin in the quiet rural village of Denbrook, a place so peaceful it feels like nothing bad could ever happen here. At the center of it all is George Hardy, played by Hugh Jackman, a lonely shepherd, but not an ordinary one. George lives far from town, surrounded only by fields and his sheep. But here's the strange part. George doesn't treat his sheep like livestock. He treats them like family. Every single night, before the sun disappears behind the hills, George reads them murder mystery novels, stories filled with clues, suspects, and hidden killers. And slowly, something impossible begins to happen. The sheep start to understand. Not just sounds, but patterns, behavior, suspicion. Especially one sheep, Lily, voiced by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She is intelligent, observant, curious, and somehow she always solves the mystery before George finishes reading. But everything changes one morning. When the sun rises over the field, George Hardy is found dead, lying still in the grass. No explanation, no warning, no goodbye. And just like that, the man who cared for them is gone. But for Lily, something doesn't add up, because this doesn't feel like an accident. It feels like a case. And so begins something no one in Denbrook could ever imagine. A flock of sheep decides to solve a murder. But what they uncover will shake the entire village and expose secrets buried far deeper than the fields they live on. But before they can understand the truth, they must enter a world they've never known, the world of humans. And humans are far more dangerous than they think.
With George gone, panic spreads quietly through the farm. But Lily refuses to accept silence. She gathers the flock. There is Mopple, the anxious but intelligent sheep, played by Chris O'Dowd. There is Sebastian, the loner sheep, voiced by Bryan Cranston, who has seen too much of the world already. And many others, each with strange, unique personalities shaped by George's stories. But they all agree on one thing. George didn't just die. He was taken. Meanwhile, in the human world, chaos begins. A local police officer arrives. Tim Derry, played by Braun. He is not exactly a genius detective. In fact, he's overwhelmed before the case even begins. He struggles to understand clues, suspects, and even basic order. But the sheep are watching him closely. And Lily realizes something important. Humans are blind to what is right in front of them. So if justice is going to happen, they will need to guide it themselves. At the same time, more humans arrive. A journalist named Elliot Matthews, Nicholas Galitzine, chasing his first big story. And George's estranged daughter, Rebecca, played by Molly Gordon, returning after years of absence. And suddenly, the village is full of tension, because George Hardy wasn't just a lonely shepherd. He had secrets. Secrets that could turn every person in town into a suspect. But here's where things get strange. The sheep cannot speak human language. To humans, their investigation sounds like random bleating, but among themselves they begin connecting clues, patterns, movements, lies. And Lily realizes something terrifying. Every human in the village is hiding something, but no one knows which secret leads to murder. And just when the mystery deepens, a shocking discovery changes everything. George Hardy was not as poor as everyone believed. He had hidden wealth, and now everyone has a motive. And suddenly, this isn't just a mystery anymore. It's a race against time, because the killer is still out there, watching, waiting.
As Lily and the flock dig deeper, the truth begins to twist in unexpected ways. Every clue leads to another question. Every answer creates a new suspect, and slowly, trust begins to collapse, even among the sheep. Because not all memories can be trusted. Some sheep have learned a strange defense mechanism. When something is too painful, They forget it, completely, as if it never happened. But Mopple remembers everything, and that makes him dangerous and essential. Meanwhile, the humans grow closer to solving the case, but they are looking in the wrong direction, because the real investigation is happening silently in the fields. Lily begins to realize something terrifying. George didn't just teach them stories, he trained them to think like detectives, but he may also have unknowingly taught them how to recognize danger too late. And then comes the biggest twist so far. A hidden pattern emerges from George's books. Every story he read wasn't just entertainment, it was preparation, a coded lesson, a warning. But warning about what? Before Lily can answer, a confrontation changes everything. A suspect is exposed, secrets are revealed, and the peaceful image of Denbrook begins to crack. But just when the truth feels close, everything collapses into confusion again, because the real killer is still not fully revealed, and the closer they get, the more dangerous the truth becomes. Something dark is hiding in this village, and it is closer than anyone imagined.
At last, the final pieces fall into place. Lily and the flock combine everything they have learned, every clue, every lie, every forgotten detail, and the truth finally surfaces. George Hardy's death was not random. It was connected to the village's buried past, to greed, fear, and hidden betrayal. And when the final confrontation happens, the truth hits harder than anyone expected. Because the real mystery was never just who killed George. It was, why did no one see it coming? The human characters face consequences. The sheep finally understand what death truly means, not as a story, not as a mystery, but as something permanent, something that cannot be solved or reversed. And Lily changes. She no longer sees the world as a storybook mystery. She understands loss, she understands grief, and she understands something George always tried to teach them, that even when someone is gone, their memory can still guide those left behind. The case is closed, but the impact remains. The village is changed forever, and the sheep are no longer just sheep. They are thinkers, observers, survivors. As the story ends, the fields return to silence, but nothing feels the same anymore, because once you learn the truth, you cannot unlearn it. The Sheep Detectives 2026 is not just a quirky animal mystery. It is a story about grief, about memory, about how even the quietest lives can hide the deepest truths, and how sometimes the ones we least expect see everything more clearly than we do. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video and subscribe, because in the world of mysteries, this is only the beginning, and every story hides another secret waiting to be uncovered.